I'm a lawyer. I just watched South Africa's arguments at the ICJ for the genocide case this morning. Let's talk about it. South Africa killed it. Like, first and most importantly, standing ovation for South Africa. They did an amazing job with this case. We've already read South Africa's claims, so we know what their factual and legal arguments are, and we can go over that in a different video. But what I think is important to discuss in this video is the specific arguments South Africa made in anticipation of what Israel's going to say tomorrow. Keep in mind that we haven't seen any brief from Israel yet. We don't really know what their arguments are going to be, but South Africa was able to preemptively combat what they think they're going to say with some really strategic legal arguments. South Africa went through all of the quotes showing the intention for genocide by Israeli leaders and said that any contention by Israel that these people didn't mean what they said or it was taken out of context should be completely rejected by the court. And one of the ways they showed this is showing how soldiers on the ground are taking these messages and implementing them. They showed videos like this of soldiers in Gaza singing and chanting about Amalek and how there's no such thing as an uninvolved civilian. They also stressed that they were very sparingly using video and photo exhibits. They were not going to use graphic images to try to create shock value or an emotional reaction. They stressed that this isn't a spectacle, this is a court of law, and they're basing this on legal arguments. And I think they did this thinking and knowing that Israel would try to use that exact tactic. They also made sure to say that just because Israel says it's going after Hamas and maybe some of its actions are doing that, that doesn't mean they're not also committing a genocide. They talked about how these actions are frighteningly unprecedented and stressed that the rights of Palestinians are no less important than anybody else's rights. Then they asked the question to themselves directly, why isn't South Africa bringing a court order against Hamas? I'm sure Israel's going to open with but Hamas. And they made it very clear that Gaza is an occupied territory. Hamas is not a state. It cannot be a party to the Genocide Convention. And there are other bodies and legal avenues that can and will be used to hold Hamas accountable. This isn't one of them. South Africa condemned Hamas's attack on civilians multiple times throughout this hearing, I think preemptively knowing that Israel was going to lead with that. But they made it unequivocally clear that the events of October 7th and a condemnation of Hamas doesn't really have anything to do with genocidal actions made by Israel after October 7th. Sorry, I got distracted and stopped taking pictures, so I only have pictures of these lawyers. But the other argument they made is they said Israel's probably going to claim that they're doing what they can to minimize civilian casualties. They stressed that not only is this not borne out in Israel's actions, but that it's not even just about the scale and indiscriminate nature of the killings. It's about the intention. I also thought it was interesting that they noted specifically that Israel has started to change their tune in the last 24 hours or so. But nonetheless, they've completely failed to punish incitement for genocide, which is a breach of the convention anyway. Okay, most importantly, they talked about how Israel is going to say this is self-defense. They talked about the Wall case, the one that we talked about in a video a few days ago, where the ICJ themselves said that Article 51, which gives states a right of self-defense, does not apply to Israel and Palestine. Israel is a belligerent occupier of Gaza. They are the ones who control Gaza. They cannot claim self-defense. But that fundamentally, either way, nothing can ever justify genocide, self-defense or not. Amazing job by South Africa, and as they said, some might say the credibility of international law and its ability to protect people hangs in the balance.